discuss in detail today. Now, this question here, it appeared on 21st August 2023. Now, this question over here, let's read it. It says the best way to reduce poverty in developing countries is by giving up to 6 years of free education so that they can at least read, write, and use numbers. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, the moment you get a question, the moment you get an essay question on the day of exam, trust me when I say this, please do not start writing straight away. You need to understand the question properly. Your step number 1 is understand the given statement, understand the intricacies that are there. So let's understand this question together. What does it say? It says the best way to reduce what? Poverty. Where exactly? In developing countries, not in any country, in developing countries, is by giving up to 6 years of free education. What free education? Not senior secondary school, not higher education, up to 6 years of free education, so that they can at least read, write, and use numbers. At least read, write, and use numbers means to provide basic literacy. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Your second step number 2 is understand the instruction. Now, the instructions over here say, to what extent do you agree or disagree? This is an opinion essay. Now, here you can have 100% agreement, 100% disagreement, or possibility number 3 can be to have a partial agreement, because we have got this word extent over here. Because we have got this word extent over here, that is why we can have a partial agreement also over here. But I would personally recommend that don't straight away think that, okay, I completely agree or I completely disagree. Instead, generate content first. You need to understand whether you have good content in the favor of agreement or you have good content in the favor of disagreement. Let's see. So let's imagine that I am somebody who wants to agree to this solution. What exactly is happening in this question? The question is talking about a problem that is of poverty in developing countries. And then they have given us a solution also. The best way, according to them, is to provide 6 years of free education. So there's a problem and there's a solution also in this prompt, which is given to us by IELTS. Now, are we agreeing that this is actually the best way? Let's see if we have good content. So if for 6 years of free education is going to be provided to people for free in developing countries, can poverty be reduced? Well, if I agree, I would say they can at least get basic jobs. That's it. Whereas if I disagree, then if I disagree to the solution given by IELTS, then in the very first sentence of my body paragraph, I would probably say why exactly basic literacy is not going to do much for reducing poverty. And if we are disagreeing that no, the solution provided by you is not sufficient, then in our body paragraphs, probably we are going to, write our solutions that if not basic literacy, then exactly what can be helpful. So what can be helpful to reduce poverty? I personally believe that if advancement in rural areas is done, then the rural population will not have the need to migrate to urban cities, thereby reducing competition over here. First idea could be that. Second idea could be if some taxation reforms can be introduced, like socialist economy instead of a capitalist economy. If that can be introduced by governments, that would also ensure that the wide gap between the rich and the poor is reduced. So probably I feel I have better ideas in disagreement rather than agreement. So that is going to be my opinion over here. Let's see how we are writing, how we are proceeding further. Now, like I said, in this kind of essay, you can have either 100% agreement or 100% disagreement. How will you decide that? You will generate ideas. You will understand where exactly you have better ideas, towards which opinion you have better ideas, and accordingly you will form your opinion. Now, if you have 100% agreement or 100% disagreement, then you need 2 body paragraphs. So this is how the basic structure is going to be. Your first paragraph is going to be the introduction paragraph. You will very soon see what exactly goes inside introduction paragraph. The second paragraph is going to be your body paragraph 1. The third paragraph is going to be your body paragraph 2. And finally, you will end with a conclusion paragraph. Now, this structure you will follow if you have 100% agreement or 100% disagreement. Whereas if you are somebody who has a partial agreement, who is saying that, okay, basic literacy is also a good idea. I agree to this solution. Let's say you want to say that to some extent, I agree with this solution given by IELTS, that basic literacy is also going to do a good job. Probably you are agreeing to this solution 30%. And then you have your own ideas where you are bending 70%. So in that case, if you have 30% versus 70% kind of opinion, then you need a third body paragraph also. So how will you deal with partial agreement? The 30% side goes in body para 1. That means the opposite viewpoint, which you do not completely agree with, goes in body paragraph 1. And your own stand, your own opinion, which you think is more dominating, the 70% side, which you agree with, goes in body para 2 and 3. So this is the structure that you are going to follow. Let's see how we have written the introduction paragraph on this prompt. All right. Now, before I explain the introduction paragraph to you, let's understand what goes inside the introduction paragraph. Your step number 1 is you are going to paraphrase the information given in the prompt. Paraphrase means you are going to rewrite the information in your own words. Let's see how we have done that. So the very first statement we have written over here, it says the most appropriate course of action. The question here says the best way to reduce poverty. How we are paraphrasing it, we are saying the most appropriate course of action to bring down the level of destitution. Destitution is a synonym of poverty. In developing nations, the question says developing countries, we are saying in developing nations is to provide education for the first 6 years without charging for it. The question says is by giving up to 6 years of free education. What we are saying is to provide education for the first 6 years without charging for it in order for people to have basic literacy. The question is saying so that people can at least read, write, and use numbers. And we have changed that to basic literacy. So we are using synonyms here to change the language of the paraphrase statement. There are other strategies also. For example, you can change active voice to passive voice when you are paraphrasing, or you can change a complex sentence to compound sentence. So there are various strategies that you can use to paraphrase. What we are doing here is we are using synonyms. Now, once the paraphrasing statement is done, then comes the star of our essay, which is the thesis statement. In thesis statement, you are going to state very clearly your opinion. Please refrain from writing that kind of sentence where students write, in this essay, we are going to discuss whether providing 6 years of free education is going to reduce poverty or not. Please refrain from using that kind of language. Instead, take a very clear stand. The examiner should know your opinion right from the introduction paragraph and maintain the same opinion throughout till the conclusion paragraph. Never contradict yourself. So in thesis, we have given a very clear opinion. We are saying, I completely disagree with the given notion. And then we have given one idea that why exactly we are disagreeing. We are saying, I completely disagree with the given notion, as many literate people are finding it hard to earn a decent living for themselves at present. So why we are disagreeing? We are saying there are many literate people out there already who are not able to earn a decent living for themselves. So that is why this is not going to be the best solution. So this is how we have written our introduction paragraph. Let's move to body paragraph 1. Let's understand the structure, that what goes inside a good body paragraph. Right. So the very first sentence of your body paragraph is going to be topic sentence. In topic sentence, what exactly do? You write your main idea. You write your main idea, and then comes the another star of your essay. Another star is the explanation part. If you are somebody who does not want to explain, then you are in trouble. You cannot get a decent band score without explaining the topic sentences. You have to do that. And then finally, you will wrap it up with a general example. Never ever give personal examples, give general examples. Let's see how we have done that. So we are saying, firstly, it is crucial. Crucial means important. It is crucial to understand that just by enabling individuals to read, write, and use numbers, the level of poverty cannot be alleviated. Alleviated means reduced. So we are refusing. We are telling IELTS that no, the solution that you are offering in the question is not the best solution. And then how exactly are we developing? How we are explaining this? We are giving the reason. We are saying this is because basic literacy is good enough to provide only low-level jobs. And now comes our solution. We are saying instead, people need secure and decent paying jobs, which can be facilitated. That means which can be made easier by improving the infrastructure of rural areas. So this is our solution number one, that if not basic literacy, then what exactly is going to help? This is going to help by improving the infrastructure of rural areas. Now we are developing this. We are explaining how exactly this will help. We are saying by doing so, the rural population will not migrate to urban cities, reducing competition. More development. Besides, this process of advancing the infrastructure will create many positions such as architects, urban designers, and so on. And finally, we are wrapping it up with a relevant example. We are saying, for instance, when a new hospital is established, many roles are created, starting from front desk executives to doctors. So you see how you write a main idea, you develop it in a couple of full-fledged sentences, and you wrap it up with a relevant general example. That is all you need to write a decent body paragraph for your IELTS essay. Moving towards our body paragraph 2, where now we will be giving our second idea, that what else can be done to alleviate poverty. So here we are saying, secondly, governments need to bring in some reforms in the taxation systems. So this is our idea number 2. What can governments do? They can bring in some reforms in the taxation systems. This is our topic sentence. Now we are developing this topic sentence. We are saying poverty can be easily controlled if a nation has a socialist economy. The aim of such an economy is to ensure that national income is distributed among its citizens in such a way that it reduces the gap between the rich and the poor. For example, the Netherlands. Always remember a simple grammatical rule over here. Whenever you are naming such a country which sounds plural, like Netherlands, West Indies, these countries always take the before them. So if you write Netherlands without the before it, you will be making a grammatical error. So for example, the Netherlands has a socialist economy, and therefore the gap between different sections of society there is not as wide as it is usually in other countries which have capitalist economies. So if you are somebody who finds it hard to develop your ideas, whenever you write your topic sentence, think about the result. Think about the impact. So if you are somebody who wants to explain your ideas but finds it hard, think about the impacts that, for example, if you are mentioning taxation or reforms in taxation, how exactly that will help. So we have written the result here, that it will reduce the gap between rich and the poor. In the previous slide, where we were talking about advancement in rural areas, how exactly we had developed that idea? Again, by talking about the impacts, that if rural areas are developed, then people will not feel the need to migrate to urban cities. That is an impact, right? So talk about impacts and reasons to develop your ideas, and you will be sailing the boat very smoothly. Now let's move towards the conclusion paragraph. Here you go. In the conclusion paragraph, you are only going to summarize both the body paragraphs. it's basically restating your thesis statement and paraphrase statement from the introduction paragraph. So it says, to conclude, only basic literacy cannot remedy the problem of impoverishment. Remedy is a synonym of solution. So to conclude, only basic literacy cannot remedy the problem of impoverishment. Impoverishment means poverty. So what are two synonyms that we have used of poverty in this essay? One is impoverishment, another is destitution. And then we are giving our solutions. We are saying instead, some advancements need to be introduced in rural areas. Our idea from body para 1. Some advancements need to be introduced in rural areas along with making alterations in the taxation systems. Our idea from body para 2. So we are summarizing our body paragraphs here and restating our opinion. Now, if you contradict yourself, if in the introduction you have said, I disagree, and by the time you reach conclusion, you say that I completely agree, you will be making a major goof up. You should never contradict yourself. You should maintain the same position throughout the essay. Let's read the entire essay once again, and let's understand how we have developed our ideas, because explanation part, idea development part, is probably the most troublesome part for students. All right, so what we are saying here, we are saying the most appropriate course of action. Most appropriate is the synonym of best. The most appropriate course of action to bring down the level of destitution, it's a synonym of poverty. To bring down the level of destitution in developing nations is to provide education for the first 6 years without charging for it in order for people to have basic literacy. And then comes our thesis statement. I completely disagree with the given notion, as many literate people are finding it hard to earn a decent living for themselves at present. So what we are trying to say here, we are trying to say that there are already some decent literate people who can read, write, and do all these kind of stuff, but they still are not able to make a living for themselves. That is why this is not going to work. And then let's see our body paragraph 1. It says, firstly, it is crucial. That means it's important to understand that just by enabling individuals to read, write, and use numbers, the level of poverty cannot be alleviated. Alleviated is a beautiful word and it's a synonym of reduced. The level of poverty cannot be alleviated. And then just see how we are developing it. We are giving a reason. This is because basic literacy is good enough to provide only low-level jobs. So if people are getting low-level jobs, poverty will not be able to reduce. Instead, people need secure and decent paying jobs, which can be facilitated, that means which can be made easier by improving the infrastructure of rural areas. And then further development, that how exactly infrastructure development in rural areas will help. Let's see, by doing so, so here we are talking about result, impact. By doing so, the rural population will not migrate to urban cities, reducing competition there. Besides, this process of advancing the infrastructure will create many positions such as architects, urban designers, and so on. So if these kind of jobs are created in market, of course, the poverty level will be reduced. And then, for instance, is a transition linker that you can use to give example. For instance, when a new hospital is established, many roles are created starting from front desk executives to doctors. So this is how you can develop your idea by giving reasons, examples, and of course the impacts. Let's see body paragraph 2 now. It says, secondly, governments need to bring in some reforms in taxation systems. What kind of reforms? Poverty can be easily controlled if a nation has a socialist economy. The aim of such an economy, so we are now defining what is socialist economy. The aim of such an economy is to ensure that the national income is distributed among its citizens in such a way that it reduces the gap between the rich and poor. So basically, in a socialist economy, government has more say than the private sector. Now here we are using this transition linker. For example, in body paragraph 1, we were using the transition linker, for instance, whereas here we are using for example, because we don't want repetitive language. We are saying, for example, the Netherlands has a socialist economy, and therefore the gap between different sections of society there is not as wide as it is usually in other countries which have capitalist economies. So in capitalist economies, private sectors are more dominating as compared to the government sector. And let's see how we are concluding it now. We are saying, to conclude, only basic literacy cannot remedy the problem of impoverishment, that is poverty. Again, we are giving the same opinion that we gave in the introduction paragraph. And then we are summarizing our body paragraphs. We are saying, instead, some advancements need to be introduced in rural areas, along with making alterations in the taxation system. So what you need to understand about this kind of essay is, if we go back and see this essay on the previous slide, what you need to understand that in an agree-disagree essay, if they have given you a problem and along with that problem, they have given their own best solution according to the IELTS, if they give you their best solution and you disagree with their solution, you will have to give better solutions yourself. You will have to generate your own solutions yourself. So because we were disagreeing with their solutions, we gave two solutions of ours. One was reforms in taxation system, and another was some advancement in rural areas. So if you are disagreeing, always read the question carefully. You will be able to understand these intricacies only if we are reading the question about twice and thrice. So you'll have to recognize that in an agree-disagree essay, have they given you a problem? Have they given you a solution? And then you will have to deal with it in this way. So moving on, that's about it. And if you want more such content, more such videos, then do follow us on our social media handles on YouTube and LinkedIn. Thank you very much.